I would like to welcome everyone to the 16th Virtual Agritourism Gathering. My name is Lisa Chase, and I'm a professor at University of Vermont Extension and the director of the Vermont Tourism Research Center. We developed this virtual series over a year and a half ago now as a way to stay connected through the evolving, ever-changing pandemic. And we have been having at least one virtual gathering each month. We're continuing through May, leading up to the International Workshop on Agritourism, which is a 3-day conference that will take place in Vermont, in person, and also online, August 30th to September 1st. Registration is now open for the 3-day conference, and I hope that I will finally have the opportunity to get to see many of you in person here in beautiful Vermont. This is an online conference as well, though, so you can join remotely through Zoom and the Whova app for that conference. I know so many of us missed traveling during the pandemic, myself included. So many people had to cancel or postpone travel plans. But travel, and especially getting out on farms and out in nature, it's not only important for our farm viability and rural community development, but it's also really important for our personal health and well-being. And that's what we're going to talk about today. But before we launch into our topic and I introduce our moderator, I want to get a sense of who is here in this virtual space with us. I know many of you have already introduced yourselves in the chat. Thank you so much for doing that. I'm also going to launch a poll. So you should see on your screen a poll that says, describe yourself, check all that apply. And we have some people who've done this before who are jumping in right away to answer the question, and feel free to click off as many boxes. I know many of us wear many different hats. We'll give folks just another moment. And for those of you who haven't already introduced yourselves in the poll, in chat, if you're comfortable sharing who you are, please type it into chat. Let us know who you are, where you're from, if you do any work with agritourism and wellness. And again, be sure to select everyone, not just hosts and panelists, if you're willing to share with everyone who you are. I'm now going to end the poll and share the results. All right, you should see the results now showing that we're about 30% farmers, ranchers, about 20% business owner managers, around a quarter tourism professionals, 27% educators, and then we've got some nonprofits, extension service providers, government agencies, an excellent mix here. Now, we do have one more poll today that is specific for this topic. I'm launching it now, and we want to ask, do you currently offer or are interested in offering wellness experiences at your agritourism operation? I realize not everyone here has an agritourism operation. If you work with one or you're supporting one or many, feel free to answer the question in that way. And we'll give folks just a moment to finish up answering the poll. And also, if none of these options work for you, or even if you just have something else that you'd like to add, feel free to write into chat. I'm now going to end the poll and share results. And it looks like the vast majority, 80%, are interested in learning more. We do have 15% that are currently offering wellness experiences, and 9% that are beginning to, and then another 13% that have other things to say. So take a look into chat and see what's going on there. Now that we know a bit more about who is in this virtual space with us, I want to take a moment to introduce our moderator. Catherine Malonsi is a consultant who advises hospitality, travel, and tourism ventures on strategy, sustainability, and business development. With a background in gastronomy as well as regenerative agriculture, and also inspired by years spent in Italy, Catherine's area of expertise is agritourism. She designs and facilitates cultural and leadership experiences around food and nature. She's based in the Hudson Valley of upstate New York, and she's been instrumental in coordinating and curating this series of agritourism gatherings that began way back in September of 2020. Catherine, welcome.
Thank you, Lisa. It's a pleasure to be here, and welcome everyone. It's always continues to be so encouraging to see the great turnout for these gatherings, and which we created, as Lisa said, a couple of years ago to connect people who love travel and food and farming. And I have the honor today to host this wonderful group of subject matter experts who will delight us and inspire us with their takes on an important topic that we were excited to include in the series, as Lisa said, wellness. And it has felt especially relevant to do this series on agritourism throughout the course of the pandemic, in part because it has been a time where the tourism industry has turned towards nature in a wonderful way. Hosts that have access to the outdoors, including farms, of course, have been in a premium position to safely welcome guests who in turn are increasingly seeking the health and wellness benefits of nature. The wellness tourism sector is booming. And whatever the reason to visit farms, we hear over and over again that farms promote a basic sense of well-being, however you define it. And people are going to farms to restore, to connect, and there's a particularly special alchemical experience that happens when we enter into direct contact with the land and with the elements. And honoring that sense of place and those who have come before us is part of a return to a greater well-being on a social collective level that we will also speak to today. So we'll spend our hour together hearing different perspectives on the simple yet huge and personal question of what does it mean to be well? And how can farms support that nourishment of wellness? As Lisa mentioned, on an individual level, physiologically, we know, and now scientific data has told us, what ancient wisdom has always known, that spending time in green places makes us more calm, more comfortable, reduces stress, boosts our immune function. Psychologically, we know that nature puts us back in touch with a feeling of something beyond ourselves, something greater. Scientists have documented the pro-social effects of the feeling of awe and wonder. And that state of awe actually is correlated with less concern for ourselves, increased generosity, and more cooperation. And ecologically speaking, as the climate crisis heightens, cultivating nature advocates is critical. And so we know, or at least we hope, that connecting people to farms will spark some incentive to care more about natural resources. Through exposure to the outdoors, perhaps we can come into a more balanced relationship with the soil and with water and with the non-human beings that we also encounter on farms. So looking at how we farm contributes to ecosystem wellness is also part of our conversation today. So with that, I'll turn it over to start us off to Melissa Oliva. Melissa is a certified integrative health coach by the National Board of Health and Wellness Coaches. She's a graduate from the Whole Food Plant-Based Nutrition Certificate course from the Campbell Institute for Nutritional Studies and eCornell. She is certified as a Food for Life instructor by the Physician Committee for Responsible Medicine, and she manages the wellness culture, marketing, and community outreach at Ananda Gardens, which she will tell us about today. She's a board member of the Farm-Based Education Network, and for over 13 years, Melissa has been developing experiences in the field of wellness through her practice as a yoga teacher, chef, and as an expressive arts coach and educator. Melissa, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you very much, Catherine. It's super excited to be here with you, sharing this experience of being a farmer and also being in the industry of wellness or in the field of wellness. So I'm going to start sharing with you a little bit of our journey in Ananda Gardens. And this has been a journey of living in, working on, and also providing wellness to our community. Let me see. Okay. So for us, this is, I want to introduce you, my family. We're a small scale family farm in central Vermont. This is a little bit of how our farmstead looks from the crop fields. And wellness for us is an integral part of who we are. And at the point when we were developing our business, we wanted to incorporate it. My husband and I have been yoga teacher. He's very into Ayurveda, human development, and I've been following this career path too as a health coach and nutrition educator. So this is part of how we live. This is part of who we are, and we wanted to include into our working culture these aspects that we reflect with authenticity or offering to the world. So wellness is a very broad concept, and it has many different definitions. I like this one, or we like this one, that it's from the Berkeley Institute of Wellness. We have tweaked it a little bit to make it our own, and we define wellness as this sense of health and vitality that arise from our thoughts, emotion, actions, and experiences. We experience wellness when we feel happy, when we feel healthy, when we are socially connected, we're purposeful. Technically, there's been defined different areas of wellness, dimensions of wellness, if you wish, by Dr. Bill Helfer in 1976. And I wanted to present it to you, these different areas, so you could see like how wellness can be incorporated in like different areas. There's like occupational, financial, mental, social, and we can like go deeper into those. But for us, we wanted to incorporate it this into our living culture. So our vision is to live in wellness, to grow, to prosper in connection with nature. Our mission is to provide healthy food and wellness to our community, working in connection with nature, and inspire healthy living. So our values have to be behaviors or principles that will guide everything we do. So we define that we are here to be happy, we're here to be mindful, we're here to be efficient and live a worth life. So we also decided to focus in these specific areas of wellness that are the physical wellness, and we do that through promoting a whole food plant-based nutrition and providing highly nutritious food crops to our community. Social and cultural wellness, we do it through our market style farm stand and farm activities. I will talk a little bit more about that in a second. Emotional wellness comes through the online communication. As you know, the world have changed, and we were in a path of like doing community events and incorporating more things into these offerings. But the pandemic hit, and we had to switch it and incorporate our online interactions, communications with our community to share positive psychology, poetry, art, and understanding more what they were needing so we can actually continue building the sense of belonging and community. Environmental wellness is probably one of the more natural things that comes in a farm because uh, we are a regenerative and organic farm, and those are the practices that we share with our community. And also we incorporate opportunities for our members to learn about it and create spaces also where they can come and connect and enjoy. As a business, we follow the Danny Meyer virtuous cycle of enlightened hospitality. Being an agritourism operation, we're very close to the industry of hospitality, and it is very important to incorporate the good stuff that is happening in that industry. And one of those things is this tip of establishing our priorities. Our priorities are ourselves, which is each other in the family crew. And this is part of the farm crew. Then our CSA members and guests, our community, it's what it comes to our priorities. And our providers are part of this network that support us. And then the Ananda Gardens family, which is my husband and I as the stakeholders, that also need to be part of their priorities. To make sure that we have a happy, mindful, and efficient team, engaged team, we need to live it's like walk the talk. So it can be that we are like a wellness farm for the world, but here we're not like providing that to our team. So this is like very important for us. So the way we develop this wellness within is by providing regular meetings where we do one-on-one check-ins with our team to understand how can we support them better, what areas they need to learn more about the work. Because primarily we're first a farm and then an agritourism operation. So the farm needs to be kind of like online, right? Professional development and partnerships we do with them too. We also offer benefits like a competitive base salary, and we try to raise their salary each year because these have been very interesting years for farms. We have experienced growth, so we want to expand that growth to our team too. We also offer a complimentary weekly vegetable share add-ons that are bread, fruit, mushrooms. And as part of their benefits, they get 30 minutes paid lunch and they get an optional 30-minute rest and reset policy, like break that is part of our policy. That is not paid, but we have found that it's very important for them to reset. And then there's a way where the team can, for example, go and swim in the reservoir. They can lie on a hammock and take a break. Sometimes days are hot and they're exhausted, or sometimes days are cold and they need to also find a space for them to feel well. We offer healthy snacks and beverage as a policy at least twice a week. They get like something from the farm kitchen and it kind of break. It makes a happy break for them. And also we offer a monthly wellness team for learning in the team that can go through things like communication, like how to sleep better or improve their sleeping patterns and things that help their own wellness path. And then, of course, the offerings for CSA members, for our communities, we have our farm stand and we have our online offerings. This is, for example, I'm showing you part of the Ananda Gardens website where we offer recipes, online and virtual offerings. We do classes, we do whole food, plant-based nutrition and cooking classes. This is part of the Food for Life program that is part of the Physician Committee for Responsible Medicine designed by doctors and nurses. So I am not a nutrition myself, but I'm a Food for Life educator and I'm licensed to do these things. And we make sure that we're providing evidence-based information on nutrition to our customers and members. We have recipes, as I said, on online on our website, weekly newsletters, and this have been interesting because we have had people that were like super on board of the wellness tip, and we also had some responses from people saying that they didn't want to get the lecture on how to eat. So it is a sensitive issue, and there has to be a lot of care on how to integrate new habits, because it can trigger things on people too, and you don't want to make people feel judged but feel supported. We have done online yoga classes too, and those have been very successful and appreciated by the community, especially in the times we're living that everything's just sometimes feel unbearable. So those are ways that we can connect, especially in the winter that we are not providing either the space or the vegetables. And we do video updates where we are also showing what we're doing. We used to do it on videos on YouTube, and now we're just like feeding our Instagrams with like what is happening every day, and that is a way to connect. Then on the farm, we were very active before the pandemic, and we were like getting into this like wonderful rhythm, but things change and we had to adapt. But we were doing taco nights, whole food plant-based, so that means vegan with whole foods. We have an ongoing cook your own flowers, and that was a beautiful way where we can see mothers with their daughters or families cutting flowers. Wonderful way to connect. We had a kid playground, and also it's wonderful how people are looking forward to come to pick up their CSA and use the spaces. We have dance performance as part is such an important part of our development as humans. Family concert. We had Mr. Chris and friends from the PBS show here having like a family concert that was wonderful. And we do have volunteering opportunities because the community have mentioned that they want to get more involved and engaged. And that's something that we are like working more. We had pagos a la tierra. That means ceremonies where we connect and we give thanks to the land, and we offer our thoughts or wishes or worries, also or gratitude to the land that feed us. And we do that with the community. And after that, we do donation-based, whole food, plant-based farm dinners. We have offered workshops also through NOFA about soil, the regenerative practice that we do. Patrick has gotten more into becoming an expert on soil health because we know how important it is to feed the soil in a way that then the soil will actually feed or be part of our health too through the crops. And then we also offer farm tours, mostly to organizations and like communities, like the state had like an event here. We have done it with nonprofits, churches, just because these people feel more comfortable to be together. We're hoping that we're going to offer more opportunities in the future. And this farm visits start with like a beverage that can be a hot or a cold drink, depending on the weather, of like a tea. It can be chamomile or tulsi or something that will like make them feel relaxed, and also drink something that comes from this land, that it's something powerful, as also eat something that comes from the land. We show them or tour them around, talk them about the landscape, how it is to be a farm that doesn't have animals, like we're not raising animals, but we have a whole ecosystem of other animals that are like developing our land, and then this is a great opportunity for them to connect, to feel that they are part, that they belong, and that's one of our greatest wellness accomplishments. And I think I'm gonna leave it here so we can have more space for other people in our panelists. And thank you very much for this opportunity. I hope this would be enlightening for you guys, and that we continue learning on wellness.
Thank you, Melissa. Yes, you're doing so much, and I'm sure people have questions. You're welcome to put them in the Q&A, and we'll have some time at the end to get to hopefully some of them. Thank you for sharing. Next, we'll hear from Simon Phillips, who is Managing Director of the Therapy Group. Some of his main goals of his group are to contribute to the growth of indigenous economic development and to facilitate, where possible, global indigenous to indigenous trade. He has spent the past 13 years immersed in the Maori economy, building relationships with iwi leaders, land trust, and other Maori business owners in the small to medium enterprise space. The Therapy Group works with cultural tourism operators, and we are delighted to have you here with us, Simon. It's very early in the morning for you. Kia ora.
Kia ora, Catherine. Yes, it's nice to be here. And wow, Melissa, you've got quite an operation there at Ananda. So wow, man, that's quite extensive. But anyway, my job obviously is to present on agritourism and wellness, but I'm offering a Maori perspective on that. So I guess it's time to get stuck into it, right? Inga kai whakahaere o tēnei kaupapa ko Lisa, ko Catherine, ko Amelia, tēnei te mihi atu ki a koutou. Ka nui te mihi ki a koutou kua hui mai nei te ata nei. Nō reira tēnā koutou katoa. Ko Simon Phillips tōku ingoa, he uri ahau nō ngā maunga pirungia ka kipuku me Taranaki, i te taha o tōku papa no Waikato, Ngāti Maniapoto me Taranaki. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Okay, translated. Firstly, I'm acknowledging the leaders of this gathering, Lisa, Catherine, and Amelia. Then I'm acknowledging you all here to being here at this gathering online. And then I introduce myself. I am offspring of 3 mountains, Pirongia, Kakipuku, and Taranaki. Now those are in my logo, the Therapy Group logo. That's my 3 mountains. On my father's side, I am of Waikato, Ngāti Maniapoto, and in the Taranaki descent. But I'm here today to discuss agritourism and wellness from a Maori perspective. And I'd like to say right now, I don't profess to speak for all Maori, but my aim is to give you a taste of what it means to be Maori in tourism today and how we've arrived where we have. Next slide, thanks, Amelia. Agritourism and wellness are a very specific tourism niche for Maori. And I can explain quickly where Maori feature, but I think it more prudent to give you a rundown of how we got to where we are. Cool? Right. Maori are tangata whenua. Translated, we are people of the land. And I am tangata whenua ki Waikato, Maniapoto me Taranaki. The Bible has Adam and Eve. We Māori have Papatuanuku, our earth mother, and Ranginui, our sky father, as they're our OGs, or our creators. We are intergenerational landowners with strong cultural and social links to land and water, and therefore environmental sustainability is a key driver for Māori. You could say these are our non-negotiables. I just want to say, however, the evidence suggests the European farming system has been quite challenging for our land and waterways here in Aotearoa, New Zealand, especially with the dairy intensification over the past 30 years. So those three circles are my 3 tribes of where I'm from, and that's the North Island of New Zealand, right there. Next slide, thanks. I think to understand how Māori roll, it is important to understand Te Ao Māori, or the Māori worldview. Firstly, there is a wairuatanga, which is the concept of a spiritual realm, the creation of life, and atua, or godlike domains. Then there is mana, power and prestige, which can be enhanced by manakitanga or generosity. You know, I'm listening to, I'm listening to Melissa talk about her business, and wow, there are so many synergies between how we roll down here in Aotearoa and what's in your business, Melissa. Anyway, so manakitangi, and you gain mana from your actions, but only from other people. Maori, which means life force or material symbol of a life principle. Pūrākau is instructive stories used for gaining and understanding of te ao Māori values. Whakapapa, which means ancestry, and in essence, relationships. This can be your relationship with land or water, and of course your relationship with family. And finally, Kaityakitanga, which is the enhancement in mana or power of the land, and the preservation of whakapapa or ancestry, and maximizing of Māori, of the life force. Kaityakitanga is such a powerful action for Māori. Next slide. Okay, Kaityakitanga practices. Now, if we look at these practices, the first example is pūrākau. I've mentioned pūrākau, which are used, these are stories which are used to deliver messages. If we consider, okay, here's a story for you. Now, Rata saw that there was a shortage of canoe. And so Rata decided to go walk into the forest and chop down a tree. So he took all day to chop down the tree and thought, excellent, I'll come back tomorrow and I'll start building my canoe. So the next day he turns up and the tree is upright again in the forest. So he repeats this for the next 2-3 days with the same sight in the morning, the tree being upright. So he decides to hide on one particular night, and he jumps out and says, "Hey, what are you guys doing?" And what was happening was the birds and the insects of the forest were putting the tree back together. And so what is the message? I guess what's the message here in this story? The key message is no man is bigger than nature. That's certainly how we've interpreted that story. So second example is rahui, which is a temporary restriction usually imposed by the local tribe. Now the goal is to restore the Maori or the life force, or to create balance in that environmental scenario. This is achieved usually by a series of karakia or prayers, and over the duration of the prescribed time period. Third example is tohu, or signs. Tohu are observations of changes in ecosystem health and interactions. So much easier to pick up on signs when you know your environment intimately, which infers the relationship with the land. And finally, we have rongoā, which is Māori medicine, or active treatments for species protection. Now, currently we have an affliction of one of our taonga species, which is a treasured species of tree, the Kodi. The affliction is Kodi dieback disease. At this stage, there is really no known cure for it, and we've seen the demise of many beautiful Kodi trees. However, local tribes and scientists, a nice little collaboration, have identified compatible or complementary species that assist in the health and the development of the Kodi tree environment. So not a direct cure, but a method of assistance to bring these trees back to health. Next slide, thanks. Okay, I might as well give you a bit of a history lesson while I'm here. In 1840, the Treaty of Waitangi was signed by representatives of Queen Victoria and several tribal rangatira or chiefs from around Aotearoa, New Zealand. Important to note, however, that prior to 1840, Maori had no concept of ownership. Their role was kaitiaki, or guardian, of the land they resided over. The cardinal rule was to leave the land in a better condition than they found it. However, in the 1860s, we saw confiscations of massive amounts of land by the government. And by the period between 1890 and 1920, a boom in government land purchases, despite Māori protests. The Public Works Act was an effective tool in land confiscation. By 1939, and that's just 100 years later, very little land was left in Māori ownership. And most of the purchased land had been developed into pasture, even when it was clear that it was unsuitable. When you consider how much land means to Māori, I think I've articulated that, and this is zero about market value, you can understand the personal tensions that still exist today. Anyway, Māori used to own 100%, no, used to protect 100% of Aotearoa, New Zealand, but now we own approximately 5%, or 1.5 million hectares. And of that 1.5 million hectares, 80% is considered either underdeveloped or non-productive. Now, that is all about perspective. A non-Māori may see scrub and bush, but a Māori may see life, in that there will be wild food, nourishment, and even rongoa, Māori medicine, to be gathered from that same piece of land. Just a stat to be aware of, US interests own 1.2 million hectares in New Zealand. So that's, we've probably got another, 25% on them that Māori own. Next slide, please. So why are Māori interested in tourism? Firstly, there's the obvious opportunity to generate revenue, generate a living for family. And whilst it has a footprint, the tourism is easier on the environment than the standard agriculture-based disciplines that we have in Aotearoa. Tourism provides the opportunity to employ family and other tribal members, but most importantly, tourism provides us with the ability to tell our own stories about the significance of our culturally significant sites, and it's beautiful in full flow. And at the end of the day, we get to showcase our culture our way. Next slide, please. Okay, we agree the tourism option is suitable for Māori, so why agritourism? Well, Māori are large-ish landowners. There's already an extensive network of Māori and non-Māori owned properties that offer hunting and fly fishing experiences. Our culture is our point of difference and has value on a global stage. This includes our practices from karakia or chants to giving the first of the catch back, to rahui for environmental maintenance and rebalancing, thus respecting the environment always. Māori have established relationships with global partners, so agritourism seems a natural extension on the agri proposition. Māori are both resilient and flexible. We've had to be. For example, if you look at that picture, what do you see? It's a rainbow trout, and that visitor is a returning visitor, by the way, and that's great for the operator based in Hawke's Bay. What you don't know is trout is an invasive species that was introduced into the New Zealand waterways in 1900. Slowly but surely, they've either wiped out or pushed out numerous native species, freshwater species, and they are protected. Anyway, now you understand the need for resilience and flexibility on the part of Māori. Next slide, please. Okay, just an agritourism and wellness snapshot for Māori. Well, Firstly, whilst our manaakitanga or hosting has prowess is 1,000 years plus old. However, agritourism and actually sharing our wellness practices is a relatively new niche for Maori. Any meaningful cultural engagement will involve food or a food story, where you will learn the whakapapa or the provenance of the food you get to eat. Agritourism and wellness experiences involve the use of the whenua or our land. Attached to the land are the stories that go way back. All experiences will involve hosting or manaakitanga. I previously mentioned that Maori derived mana from their ability to host and host well. Almost all wellness experiences will involve cultural practices such as karakia or chants and or waiata, traditional songs, and even haka, some war dances. Finally, all experiences will involve the sharing of cultural intellectual property. And this stems from our whakapapa or ancestry, which starts where? The land. So next slide. And there we are, whānau, or family. I've probably gone about things in a roundabout way, but I hope you get the picture. Kia ora.
Thank you so much, Simon, and for your valuable perspective and sharing. I love this idea of gaining prestige through generous hosting. That's really beautiful, and I know connects so many people who are in this audience today. Thank you. I'm going to turn it to last but not least, we're going to travel back across the continents to back to the US, to Massachusetts, to speak with Matthew McMahon. Matthew is the farm manager at Gould Farm, the first residential therapeutic community in this nation, dedicated to helping adults with mental health and related challenges move toward recovery through meaningful work and clinical care. Matthew oversees a team which runs a micro dairy and a small beef production alongside the residents who the organization serve. And as the manager, Matthew has adopted management-intensive rotational grazing practices and revitalized the dairy food operation. So thank you for being here with us today, Matthew.
Thank you. It's really great to be a part of this panel. It's really great to hear everybody's perspective. It's really nice to see the similarities. It's really affirming, and it's also really great to hear the different approaches. So I'll talk a little bit about Gould Farm. This first slide here is are two of the colleagues that I work with and one of our dairy cows. So I'll go through the slides. I look forward to the questions toward the end. So our mission at Gould Farm, we were founded in 1913 as the first residential therapeutic community in the US that is serving people with mental health challenges. The real key part of what we offer here, community, and the fact that we work together, and we also, because we're working with people with mental health challenges, the clinical care that we offer is also really instrumental. But they're not seen as separate things. They're really joined. Community and meaningful work and clinical care, because of the challenges that folks face, we offer psychiatric care. So that's very specific to the situation that people are in. But I think when we look at wellness, and when we, there's discussion today about nature and farming and the connection that work can bring, really, this sort of necessitates community, and the idea of wellness is all a part of that. So we have, our location is 700-acre farm. 500 acres of that is forest, About 200 acres of that is open land, and 100 some odd acres of that is used in agriculture. We have housing for guests. Guests are the people who receive services here, our clients. We call them guests. And the families and the staff and the volunteers all live right here on the property. So it really is a community effort. The connectedness that we have and the connectedness that we share is really, again, at the core of what we do. We've got, like I said, the 500 acres of forest. We've got 10 miles of hiking, as well as some really great little features. We have a small pond. We have a sauna. So there's a lot of really great facilities. At the core of what we do is community. And I think one of the things that, from the perspective that I'm talking through today, is really through specifically the mental health field. I think some of these things can be generalized, in general wellness, but, the perspective that we take and the thing that we've found is most helpful to people who are in crisis is acknowledging that mental health really comes from a place of loss of community. And it's that loss of community that gets people stuck, and then folks don't know what to do. And so turning to a place like Gould Farm gives them the opportunity to reconnect with community, which is really challenging. People come with all sorts of traumas and fears and, I think things that we can all relate to, but they feel it in such a acute way that there's this feeling of stuckness. So the sense of community, again, really at the core of what we do, and building people back into that. There's our residential staff, a little bit more about what we do. So we offer clinical support. What that looks like is every guest gets a social worker that they work with. They live in a house with other guests, and there's a residential advisor that oversees that experience, makes sure they have what they need, engage in different activities. And then the work team leaders guide the day-to-day work. So essentially what we're doing is milieu therapy, which is, the approach of everyday activities set in a specific environment, with the intended outcome of people, again, connecting back to that sense of self through community. A lot of our folks are on medications, and so we have psychiatrists that are part of this. But the really important thing about the clinical aspect of what we do is it really is a network of people that come around to support people. It isn't you have a therapist, you see that person on this day, and then you have a psychiatrist that administers medications, and then maybe you have a job somewhere. There's this really specific connection to every aspect of your life, and so everybody's able to surround individuals with support. Community life, like I said before, everyone lives on the property, including staff and volunteers and their families. There's something really remarkable that happens when you share a space, when you share meals. We celebrate holidays together. When kids are running around the dining room, you can watch guests open up in ways that they aren't comfortable doing with just, the regular sort of staff experience. So it's a really profound experience to watch actual community kind of surround somebody in a supportive way. We run a morning meeting every morning. Basically, it's a platform for everybody to come together, understand what the day is about to look like. We do a reading and we share songs. We're not the best singers, but it's kind of a fun thing to do. It levels the playing field so that everybody's entering the day from the same point of view, which is really, again, really critical to that idea of community. It's really easy in any treatment facility to develop power dynamics. And so this is one of the ways that we try to make sure that everybody has a voice and that we all start off together. We have a weekly community meeting that everybody has an opportunity to bring up issues or share appreciations. And again, it just kind of creates a common space that everybody can come to this is a meeting that's attended by the guests. It's attended by the clinicians. So your therapist is there, your work leader is there, and we're all together just kind of talking about the experience of community life. Community can be a bit much sometimes. We've got a lot of peaceful places to go to on 500 acres. There's a lot of respect for people to be able to wander those acres, go take a hike, and just kind of find a sense of peace. Physical health is really important to us. So we have a little basketball area. This is a room that's often used for yoga or ping pong or other community uses. We've got some workout spaces. So the physical health is woven into a lot of what we do. We talk a lot about what people's goals are. And one of the questions that we usually visit is what are people's physical goals and what are the outcomes they're looking for. Art and music is a big part of what we do. So we don't have any formal programs, but we do just offer spaces to do that. So that's available for people who are interested in that. We also have a lot of music. This is from a contra dance recently. Really fun little group. We've got people that are really talented just within the community. And so those are all community members that are playing the contra dance. So it's a tight-knit group. We've got a lot of opportunities that we try to bring to liven things up. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the work, and then I'm going to talk more specifically about the farm, and then I'm going to wrap it up and look forward to hearing some questions. So the purpose of the work is really to engage people in a way that says, how can you give back? A lot of the approach in sort of the typical mental health field is it addresses the individual's issues. We talk about what's wrong. We talk about what's missing. If somebody's committed to hospital, the focus is how can we get the right medications on board. All of those things are really important, and I certainly see them as a part of the process. But what we ask people to do is to join in and be a part of something that's greater than them. And I think one of the ways that's the most natural to do that is through agriculture, because agriculture is food. We all need to eat, and so it's an opportunity to not just feed yourself, but to see the fruits of your labor feeding those around you. So as a part of our work program, we have a kitchen. Again, that's an opportunity for people to produce the 3 meals a day that we all eat together. You get to actually see what you do. You go enjoy the meal that you just prepared, but you also see the people around you partaking. So that's really important. We have a bakery. They bake the bread and bagels and things that we use as staples throughout the community. They also provide baked goods for our roadside cafe, which unfortunately is closed for renovation right now, but they're doing, there's a partnership between those two teams with their baked goods. Forestry and Grounds takes care of our 500 acres of woods and the 10 miles of trails. They collect sap. We create maple syrup. That's a product that is sold and used here on the farm. They also take care of the rest of the grounds, landscaping, all those kinds of things. The garden, of course, has the responsibility to grow our veg. And we've got a greenhouse, a few hoop houses, and we have just enough to have a very small, humble CSA in the town that we're in. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about the farm team, which is the team that I manage. We run a very small micro dairy. This is one of our calves. We have a calving operation that essentially is a cohort calving group that we always try to have at least a couple of calves at a time, because we leave our calves on the cow until they're ready to be weaned. It's usually about 2 months. It's when we see that they're nutritionally able to sustain themselves, and we also make sure that we can gradually separate the cow from the calf without having a lot of fussiness and a lot of sort of bond breaking. We do it very slowly. We do an intensive management system for our rotation. So we rotate our animals through the land. You can see there's hayfield in the background, and there's some lush pasture. These cows will graze until the Grass has been eaten down just a little way, and then we move them back on it after all that grass has recovered. And so there's this relationship between the animal and the land where we allow that process to just naturally happen, which is really the relationship that herbivore and grasslands are supposed to have. Here they are again. They're on the edge of the woods. Here they are in the woods. We like to give cows access to the forest because it gives them a nice, cool place to be. They also help to manage the understory. They trample invasive species. So we've got some hay there where we're actually trying to guide them into areas where we're trying to get them to trample some barberry. So we're really trying to combine those elements, environment and animal. The outcome of all of this is we get to enjoy milk and cheese from our dairy herd, and these are used in the community and sold to the outside. As far as kind of our relationship to the agritourism world, we have a priority to maintain the privacy and sort of priority of the guests that are there. So we don't have a completely open agritourism operation, but people from the community do come to the farm. They love to say hello to the animals. They walk around. Some of our trails are open to the public, so they get to enjoy some of those things. It's a nice opportunity for some of us to interact, but we make sure that it's an opportunity that's chosen. We do offer sort of scheduled tours. So if there's, particularly with educational institutions that are looking at agriculture or looking at, how do we develop community, or a lot of the questions that come up from working with a farm like this, we have given tours before. So that's kind of our relationship to the community, and that's sort of our take on wellness. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Matthew. And I want to thank everyone here today. Matthew, Simon, Melissa, Catherine. Just amazing to hear the different perspectives and different work being done around wellness and how that relates to farming. We didn't have time for questions today, but I wouldn't take away a moment of anything that anyone said. Such valuable information, and we will follow up. You will get, because you registered, you will get an email from Christy Sherlock within a few days that will include a link to this recording, as well as contact info for our presenters and resources, the websites that they've mentioned today. We definitely want to keep this conversation going, so feel free to reach out to our presenters, and we also are ready to keep talking about other aspects of agritourism. Our next session is on May 10th. We're going to try something a little different. We will have a networking session on Zoom meeting, and we're going to have breakout groups on a variety of different topics that have been covered through this webinar series. And the breakout groups will be led by many of the panelists and moderators that we've had in this webinar series. For that May 10th networking session, registration is now open, and it's same website I'm going to keep sending you to, www.agritourismworkshop.com. That's where you'll also find a recording of this webinar in a few days. And you'll also find on that website registration information for the Vermont conference, August 30th to September 1st. Before we close, I do want to mention that the early registration rate for that conference is good through April 30th. And there is a scholarship application on the registration page. So if you're interested in being part of that 3-day conference, whether you'd like to come to Vermont or connect virtually, please don't let funding get in the way of your participation. I wish we had more time to spend with all of you, and we'll just have to make up for it and get together through networking and other ways, other events coming up in the future. Thank you all so much for being here today, and I hope to connect with you soon, next month or some other time in the future. Thanks so much.